So, hi, my name is Gino Banks, and I'm here to talk to you about the role of the drum set in India. Okay, so before we begin, I want to tell you, where does this instrument come from, right? So, if you look at it, it's made up of many parts, many components, and this instrument was put together in the United States, specifically New Orleans, okay? And it's a collection of different percussion instruments from all over the world. So we have the bass drum, the snare drum. This is coming from marching bands, and it's coming from Western classical European music. Then we have the tom-toms. These drums replicate African ethnic drums from the Latin Americas, any ethnic drums from folk music. And then we have these cymbals. Cymbals were originally made in two countries, Turkey and China. So if you look at it, the drum set is kind of like the first world instrument put together, right? So, now what did I play for you earlier? I kind of wanted to show the evolution of rhythms and grooves from the time the drum set came about in the early 1900s till the contemporary music of today. I started with a marching beat. All of us were familiar with the marching beats in school when we used to do march pass. So something like that. And then I worked my way into swing, because swing was the first kind of grooves played on the drum kit. And then a little bit of more intricate bebop jazz, into shuffle rhythms, which morphed into rock and roll rhythms, into R&B and funk grooves, and then a little bit of dance music and some drum and bass to close it off. So that was my introduction. Now the drum kit in India. Pre-independence era, 1920s, 30s. The drum set came into our country. A lot of visiting bands actually were coming down from the United States and from England to perform. And when these bands were in India, it was a mix of international musicians as well as local talent. Jazz scene in India in the 20s and 30s, the thriving scenes were Bombay and Calcutta at the time. And there were many musicians who were well known for their bands, namely Frank Fernin and Mickey Corea, who were band leaders and led jazz swing bands in the 30s and 40s. Cut to the mid-40s, there was a very famous musician known as Chick Chocolate, also known as Antonio Xavier Vaz. He was instrumental in introducing swing music into the film music, right? So there were a lot of composers like Shankar Jaikishan, Naushad, O.P. Nair, C. Ramachandra, Madan Mohan. And a lot of these jazz band leaders were arrangers for these composers. And C. Ramachandra is credited for introducing swing music to the Indian film industry, but that's also because Chick Chocolate, the famed jazz musician, was his arranger, and that's how the swing beats came into play. The swing beats, if you're unfamiliar with that, you may know Mera Naam Chin Chin Chu, Ina Mina Dika, right? So the beat would go something like this. Could you hear Ina Mina Dika with that beat? If I could sing, I would, but I can't. Right. So, like we were saying, swing was a big influence in Indian film music at that time. Now cut to the more modern era in the late 60s, early 70s, R.D. Burman came into prominence, and he used a lot of influence of contemporary music of the time, borrowing from Latin rhythms, borrowing from rock rhythms, funk rhythms, and the drum set was a big part of those beats to drive those songs. Songs like Aa Dekhe Zara was a heavy drum song performed by the late great Franco Vaz, who was R.D. Burman's drummer at the time. So the drum set was thriving in the recording industry, as well as live performances, of course. Then we come to the 1980s. Technologies advanced, drum machines started to be invented and come into the music industry. Now the sound of the drum machines were very good. No, not complicated to put a mic and get a sound and mix it. The drum machines already had a pristine sound. In the 1990s, the drum set took a hit in the recording industry. It was not being used much. Our recording techniques were not very advanced to capture the drum set sound. So drum machines became widely used and was a norm. This continued to the early 2000s until composers, modern composers, namely like A.R. Rahman, Shankar Ehsaan Loy, Vishal Shekhar, Salim Suleiman, wanted to use an organic live drum sound for their songs. Also, it became a change of sound for the listener. And by then, the technology advanced. India started to have better recording techniques, equipment to capture the drum set at a high level. So these composers started bringing back the recording of live drums in Bollywood music. Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of playing a few of these songs, namely Aaj Ki Raat by Shankar Ehsaan Loy from the movie Dawn. We have Kurban Hua from the movie Kurban by Salim Suleiman. We have, what else do we have? We have Sultan by Vishal Shekhar from the movie Sultan, Ram Chahi Leela from the movie Ram Leela, and many more. And I recently recorded on the newly released film War 2, there's a song called Jeete Jeete, recorded live drums. So now the live drum recording business is alive and well and thriving. So that's a good thing. Another unique and big breakthrough for the drum set in India was the application of our traditional Indian classical music, Hindustani and Carnatic music. It was not being done before, but from the 70s onwards, drummers like Trilok Gurtu, Ranjit Barot, and Sivamani. Trilok Gurtu used to play with R.D. Burman at some point, and then Ranjit Barot, Sivamani obviously work with A.R. Rahman currently. They started to learn and apply tabla material, mridangam material, and play it on the drum kit. It was not a very common thing, but they kind of pioneered this. It added a unique voice on the drum set that was represented to the world as something different than what other countries are used to hearing being played on the drum kit. And nowadays, because of these legends, it's much more common for drummers to learn heritage, Indian classical music, and apply it to the drum kit. For example, Tadit tak janadam, tadigenatadi tak janadam, tadigenat tak janadam, tadigenatada, tadigenatada, tadigenatata, di tak janadam, tadigenatad tak janadam, tadigenat tak janada, di tadigenatada, di tadigenatata, di tadigenatata, di tak janadam, tadigenatad tak janadam, tadigenat tak janada, ta di tadigenatada, ta di tadigenatada, ta di tadigenatada. So that's a Carnatic classical composition. And I'll play it on the drum kit, and I'll recite it so you know what's happening. Tadi takajanadam, tadigenatadi takajanadam, tadigenat takajanadam, tadigenatda, tadigenatda, tadigenatadi takajanadam, tadigenatdi takajanadam, tadigenat takajanadam, di tadigenatda, di tadigenatda, di tadigenatadi takajanadam, tadigenatdi takajanadam, tadigenat takajanada, tadi tadigenatda, tadi tadigenatda, tadi tadigenatda. So now, the recording of drum set music is happening pretty often. On the live stage, live performance, the drum set is integral. The drummer is the engine room of the band. It drives the force. And it's basically who everybody in the band looks for cues, handling the arrangement, the dynamics, which means the volumes that are created. The drummer's in charge of all that. So on stage, the band looks at the drummer as its North Star to make sure that, yes, we are going in the right direction, right? So to conclude, I think I should play a little more drums. So you want to hear some drums? Okay, so I'm going to play something, and then you guys are going to play the same thing. Clap it for me, okay? So let's see. Let's see how good you guys are. Clap, clap, clap. Clap. Thank you, thank you.